Well, all right. Let me get better music. Let's go to game time hype.
Are we live? Is this what's happening?
Almost live, dude. Starting.
Oh, there we go. Oh, I see the cow. Okay, now I see it. Okay. It's like the World Cup matches.
I know. Bro. Let me get the. These all like. I still want to get the hype for that World Cup. Like, it was really cool. I thought the intro of the World Cup was really cool. All right. How's it going, Cesar? How are you?
Doing well.
Transition into there. Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. We're looking at our intro music. I think we need to change it. It's a little too hype for these times around. And we should have like some kind of holiday music. But Cesar, you're back officially. A few days. I would say what, a week at least since you're back.
It's been a little over a week. It's been a little over a week since I've been.
Is it good enough for you to come back? How's the jet lag? How you feeling?
I mean, the jet lag was pretty serious.
Was
I think you know that, but actually it was weird. I hit like an interesting point. I want to say a few days back where I like went to sleep at like 9 p.m. but woke up at like 6 a.m. and I was like, oh man, I'm a regular adult. Like I was like, yes, I just need to maintain this schedule. But obviously now I'm back to
you're back to
irresponsible ways of just like go to sleep around like midnight. But I'm gonna try to push for that again. But anyway, how are you, man? When did you get back?
It's the jet lag didn't affect me. Like I've gone to Asia, I went to Thailand, I went to China, and like when you travel, I would say I might butcher this. When you travel east, I feel like it just hits me really hard. But when you travel west coming back, Qatar to Europe here, instead of going, Thailand, China, United States, for some reason it doesn't hit me as hard. And I realized, because I was telling this to Amy, we would be done like at 3-4 in the morning in Qatar. Like after leaving that stadium at 10 p.m., then the stadium at midnight, or then working for about an hour, 2 hours, and trying to get back home. You're not going to bed till like 4 or 5. So you're waking up. I remember, the times that we would record the podcast, we were leaving, that 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and then you have to go back. We're in Lusail. By the time, went to sleep, it was like 4:30 in the morning every day. So
yeah, that last game, that last game for Mexico, I went to bed, I think at 6 in the morning. Just because of the Martino news, and he said he was cool. Exactly. That game was a 10 p.m. game. You're like, all right, I guess I'm staying up forever tonight.
Yeah, that I remember doing the stand up, and it was at 3:30 in the morning, and then which kind of helped because I left the following day. Yeah. And then when I went to Madrid, I just slept, and I felt like I just kind of kept that schedule. Like I would go out and watch World Cup matches because they were later, and then wouldn't go home. And then finally when I got home, I'm like, all right, it wasn't as bad. So the jet lag wasn't as bad. But Cesar, glad to have you on. Amy has some stuff to do. Adriana's still really, really busy with stuff on TUDN, saying hello to Kari, who's joined us, and Lizzie, who are a little busy on as far as holiday stuff. But all right. We wanted to have that one last Mexican soccer show to talk about the World Cup. The final was yesterday. Getting your thoughts. Where do we go from here with Mexico? Already, we already have some guests saying Gold Cups in 6 months.
Oh, where did they talk about going? Hey, we got Nations League too.
Suriname, right? I think we play Suriname.
Yeah, that one's gonna be nothing helps you feel better. And when Mexico goes out the group stage of the World Cup, than a Nations League away game against Suriname, right? That's I'm sure all the fans would be like, who cares about what happened in the World Cup? Mexico got that 2-1 win over Suriname.
Gold Cup is back, so I'm nervous that Mexico doesn't have a coach yet. Well, it's usually after a World Cup it takes a bit when you're looking at it, but let's just we'll talk a little bit about what how we see at least the next steps for Mexico. I want to hear Cesar's thoughts. This is our first Mexican soccer show live from in our home since we left.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions, you're on, let us know. We'll kind of try to answer them. But Cesar, overall, let's talk about the final, even though I'm trying to figure out how we can somehow talk about Mexico in the final, but there was no ref. I think there was a linesman or someone that was Mexican.
There's at every game, what we'll say about us, we can somehow do a little Mexico tie-in, is that like no matter what game you're watching in the World Cup, there's always at least like one person with like a Mexico flag.
Oh, there's definitely
there's like one like it's just like,
oh, there's definitely a lot of Mexicans there.
Can we say and it seems ridiculous, and I don't actually like, it's a dumb thing to say, but like I saw a lot of people being like, oh, you know what? The only game that Mexico lost in the World Cup was to the champions. It's the only one they lost. That's it. We're fine. We're good, right? Bring that back in. Call them back in.
I made a TikTok that said, a win is a win. A win is a win. I don't care anybody says. No. It's funny, right? In that case, Saudi Arabia beat the World Cup champions. So, I mean.
Yeah.
and then we beat Saudi Arabia. I mean,
exactly, yeah. Where's our trophy, right?
And then
where's our trophy?
I know, it's kind of funny how you can kind of say that. All right. Yeah, we got some news. Giovanna's already jumping on all the things. Montes like going to Espanol.
Yeah.
Yes. So, yes. And then she's saying that there was a Mexican in the VAR. There it is. I think there was a Mexican. I thought it was like a field, or there was I think there's like 20 refs. So we kind of made it. But all right. World Cup final. France, Argentina. A final that for the first half and at least like 10 minutes, we're like, is this really how it's going to go? France just like, I don't want to play. I already have a World Cup 4 years ago. We're just going to, everyone's all bitter. Then France finally did something. And I could say at least it is the best World Cup final that I've ever witnessed. I can't remember a time where just like, wow, I knew France wasn't going to go away easy. I was watching with some friends that are like, oh, this is people saying it's rigged. And also I'm like, there's just no way France isn't going to do anything with the caliber that they have, the subs that they made, and then all of a sudden Mbappe, who is just like, wow, what a player!
Yeah,
envious the type of players that he is, and then the way he goes into it, and penalty kicks, a World Cup final. Cesar, to you, as a spectator, even though we have nothing, we have no dog in the fight. You sat there and like you could be nervous without having a dog in the fight. Like you'd be like, what is going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think too, just like looking back on it, I feel like even now it's Monday night. I feel like I'm still trying to catch up on what happened, just because so much happened in that game. And there. What more could you ask of a final? You had Messi. Obviously, I think one of the easier things to say is cementing his status as the greatest of all time. And Mbappe just being impeccable. Like there was nothing wrong. You can't criticize Mbappe. Like I know he didn't have the best first half, but that second half, the extra half, just like he was incredible and like has the potential to be the next icon in soccer. You two breathtaking like halves of extra time. Unbelievable save
goals in the extra time.
Yes, that too.
Goals, which you're kind of like, all right, they're just gonna wait it out. No, goals. Yeah. Argentina scoring at the end, like it just. If anything was rigged, it was to be a great final. Like I put that on there. Like it's like, they want it.
We just maybe we just like to say it too much as Mexico fans, or like it's part of too much like Liga MX chat about like whether it's like rigged or the refs are being paid and it's like that. No, it's obviously.
And I get it. There's just it sounds a little bitter of Messi in Argentina or Messi winning or whatever, but and it is a little suspect with all the things behind it and Qatar and PSG and all this stuff. No, I'm just saying you just kind of go like, the penalties I was given, I could see it. But at the end of the day, look at what Mbappe did.
Yeah.
The save by Libu in like the last minute, in the last 10 seconds of it, like it's
that was incredible.
It was incredible.
The penalty shootout too, and just there's just
young French players going into the pressure. I felt at some point I'm like, Argentina just wants it more. Just like their players, they gotta. And regardless of who you wanted, you enjoyed an amazing match and match of football. And
it seemed ridiculous to say, but it seems like what a lot of people are saying, because like, like I was chatting with because my dad, he's a lot older than I am, so I was like, have you ever seen a final as good as this one? Because I think it's easy for me to say that because I don't really remember the ones from the 90s. I was kind of a kid, so like I just remember anything like 2002 and beyond. Like after that, those are the only finals I can remember. So I could say in my lifetime, that's the best World Cup final I've seen. My dad, he was born in 1960s, and he was saying like that is by far the best World Cup final he's ever seen. Like who is actually
even Maradona in '86? I think they just won. It was like you saw who was the better team. This was the first one where you're like, Argentina's good. Oh my gosh, France is going to win. Like you were just like, it was so on par in the goals and the players. I think when you talk about what was the best final, you talk about two teams that you're like, wow, both of them could have won easily. And that's what happens when it's World Cup, right? I'm like, okay, finals. I mean, I remember as a kid, 94, Brazil versus Italy, but that was a 0-0 and Roberto Baggio missed this, the Coliseum. So you kind of go, okay, there've been great finals that go to penalty kicks, but like that, 2010 was awful. 2014 was amazing. I didn't get to see 2018, but it was clear it was for free. 2018 it was Croatia running out of steam.
At the end of the 2018 one, you're like, okay, there could be something here. There could be something here, but it never reached a level that this game did. Like that didn't become public.
2014 was actually, I remember Messi, Germany, they went into extra time and it was a good final. I would say that was a great final, but it didn't go to PKs, and you just saw that Germany.
It missed those goals too. It really missed the goals that you had in this match too.
Obviously, it's Iniesta's goal versus the Netherlands, but I don't remember it being like, oh my gosh. 2006, of course, we all remember Zidane's and the headbutt against Italy. I mean, it was a good final, but it wasn't like it wasn't a crazy, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's what everybody's saying, right? Do you like Guerra saying, 2006, 94 was a boring game. Yeah, I got to remember 94 with PKs, but I think overall in our lifetimes, I couldn't tell you about. I know 86. I think the semifinal was better in the final, and then back in I don't know any games in 82, 78.
That's what I'm asking my dad. I'm like, were they this good? Like,
no, it was for sure one of the best finals. Regardless of, on a personal note, I've always been a Messi fan from the very beginning in Barca and being not because of Messi, but because of Rafa. My dad brought a bunch of stuff when he went over because he didn't like Real Madrid. So I've always kind of been towards that, and I've always thought Messi was on my end one of the best players. So I knew that not him getting a World Cup didn't mean that he now is the GOAT, which solidifies it, right? That's what everybody kind of keeps saying to me on a personal note. But if you would have told me, Argentina was going to win this World Cup, I would have been like, there's France, there's Brazil, you have this. So they did it. And congrats to Messi and Argentina and all their fans who are going crazy, a little too crazy, but that's how they celebrate and that's who they are. But wow, what
we would get if we won. Can you imagine we would get if we won?
Yeah, no, we would be going. I mean, I could just imagine that's the part that you just kind of go, damn. Like, I don't know. You just kind of, even though I saw all that, you just go, when are we ever going to celebrate that? But
when Santi Jimenez gets the game-winning goal, actually,
you start dreaming. You're like, okay, the new set of, it's like 4 to 8 years. Anyway, we won't go there. But
Emil Ochoa shuts out Mbappe, and then Santi Jimenez gets the game-winning. Real Madrid's Santi Jimenez.
I was. Somebody mentions like, have you ever witnessed like a better game than that day? And I'm like, well, yes, because even though these aren't my teams, I was like, holy crap, that's an amazing game. but I could only compare it to the U.S. Mexico, the CONCACAF final. Remember
Yeah,
in
because I
Pasadena?
think this,
Like
yeah,
the craziness of going back and forth, and
yeah.
then
I think that, but I think obviously there could be probably some like third division games which are amazing, which we've never seen. But I think
oh,
it was just the mixture of what was on the line,
it was the
how
World Cup
big,
final game.
and that's obviously the huge obvious factor there, and mixing what was happening, and also like the narrative between obviously Mbappe and Messi. The fun thing is like a lot of us are saying was like, well, these teams are much more than just Mbappe and Messi, but it was those two like taking almost like boxers, like taking turns, with those with their attacking chances. But yeah, incredible final, amazing, and yeah, I think it's just it seems like now it's not only is this it seems like everybody's agreeing this is the greatest World Cup final, but where does this land in the list of just all time legendary games? Because it's got to
Yeah,
be.
no, for sure.
It's got,
And
yeah.
that's when I go, okay, what's a game where I just remember it was like, what? Like crazy. And my team was involved. I'm not saying that the
Yeah.
Gold Cup, CONCACAF Cup was better than this. Absolutely not for what it
Yeah.
was. It was going I'm just saying on my end, it was a good 2011 US versus Mexico. But for US fans, it was, we won 4-2. I'm
Yeah.
talking about, like a final where it's kind of going back and forth. And maybe even the Nations League last year where I went to extra time.
That was a good. Yeah, maybe we feel different. We'd feel different about that one if that was something that
maybe
Mexico won.
maybe US fans are saying that was an amazing final because Diego Lainez scores it in the scores a goal towards the end, and then the penalty kick, and then Guardado misses the penalty kick, and they don't even go to extra time. So maybe. But yeah, that's great. I also want to ask you, and I want to ask everyone that's here. As far as the games at this World Cup, I felt like they were much better than any World Cup I remember. Maybe because they're just, we waited 4.5 years, but like you saw these, countries like Uruguay not going through, Belgium not going through, Germany. You saw Japan and Korea, Morocco's story, Saudi Arabia being Argentina. For 3 minutes, Costa Rica was in, even though they got, they got beat 7-1. Spain completely not making it after to the quinta. But they're like, to me, this was, as far as the football, because we could talk about everything else surrounding everything, but football-wise, probably one of those most exciting World Cups that I remember where you're just like, did that happen today?
Yeah, no, there was. I think, especially in the group stage too. And there's so many surprising results. There's a lot of parity in this World Cup. I know in the end, some of the powerhouses went through.
But
you
not
still
really,
had,
Morocco. Morocco took out Spain.
but you still had Morocco, like you're fighting until the very end there. A lot of people got that one of the dream finals that they wanted with Argentina versus France, but no, it was fantastic. But you know what's just to bring this back to Mexico though. So like I was chatting, I forgot who it was. Did a pod earlier today. Yes, a lot of surprises, regarding so many results in this World Cup. But the weird thing is, I feel like so many of us could have predicted what would have happened to Mexico immediately after that draw came out, right? A lot of us are saying it's going to be a draw against Poland. Mexico is going to lose to Argentina, and they're going to defeat Saudi Arabia, and then it's going to come down to goal differential. And that's what ended up happening. I think that's the weird thing too. Is just like I know we're talking about what's more the surprising results and how exciting it was, but isn't it a little weird that like in this tournament there's so many surprises and you had a team like Morocco going through and you had some powerhouses getting knocked out. It still kind of went the way. Yes, a lot of us thought Mexico would hopefully have gone through with a narrow result like in their favor, with a goal differential in their favor. But I think that was kind of the standard prediction, right? Draw against Poland, lose to Argentina.
Wait, if somebody had told me, hey, by the way, this happens, I'm like, yeah, that's going to happen. Hopefully, that's why I'm like, if we could just win against Poland, we're in. Like, we are in. But again, Saudi Arabia beating.
Obviously that was a huge result.
Like when people are like celebrating, I'm like, I don't know, guys, because that all of a sudden, Argentina needs to win tomorrow, and it could have gone almost with the England and US group, where England goes, we're going to rest the second game, not lose, but it's all about the third game, and because we have 3 games in less than 10 days.
Yeah.
So and it could have been completely different. Argentina maybe doesn't take it, maybe doesn't doesn't need to win exactly.
Yeah.
And against Mexico, and I'm again, what ifs, and el hubiera no existe completely. but yeah, 4 points. Aside, that's what everybody's kind of saying right now. Yeah, this crazy was a World Cup. Yeah, I probably would have enjoyed this World Cup if Mexico didn't fail. And exactly, Joanna, I still enjoy this World Cup even though Mexico was not in it. Like, I was excited for games. Could just imagine if Mexico was in it, right? So, I mean, we'll see. People are saying, hey, CONCACAF was the biggest disappointment in this tournament. No, just Canada.
I do feel bad for them though, because they would.
I don't feel bad.
I do feel a little bad.
I
know. There's a part of us. I know there's a part of us that's just like, oh, like yes,
no.
I feel. Yeah,
they played well. They have a great team. Well. Look, they have a good team. When I go back and be like, why are you hating on Canada? It's just I'm like, I saw their group, and I go, there is no way they're getting out of the group with Croatia being who Croatia is. We didn't even know about Morocco, and then having Belgium. I'm like, Belgium and Croatia are gonna get out. Like, and then Morocco. I put it kind of like Turkey, like these, and especially with so many fans that are going to be there. I'm like, they're in the hardest group. They had a harder group than Mexico's group.
Yeah.
They had a harder group than the U.S. group. So when people are like, oh, Canada's going to get out, I'm like, where do you see that? All right. They had their very first great game, even though they lost. Everyone almost counted it as a tie, but they lost against Belgium. And then I was at that Croatia game where after 2 minutes of scoring, they're like, we got this. And I'm like, this is Croatia. Like, this is.
You can never count them out, yeah. But yeah, but overall, but obviously
Costa Rica losing 7 goals, of course. But again, in Costa Rica beating Japan, who beat, Spain and also beat Germany.
It's funny to think back at that group. You're like, everybody beat everybody. Everybody lost everybody. Like, what even happened in that group?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Madrid, like in this Spanish bar, and I'm like, all right, I'm down if Costa Rica just upsets Germany, and it's Spain and Costa Rica going in. So I'm like, all right, I'm pulling for Costa Rica. Ever since that 2014, like when I'm like, you know what, Brian Ruiz, and I have no hate for any teams like Costa Rica. And I remember we're like, all right, Costa Rica's in kind of the whole Latinos thing. We had a couple people that were also cheering there. And then like Spain's like, all right, Costa Rica and Spain are in. But as soon as Costa Rica scores one, Spain's like, we're out right now. It's hilarious in those scenarios when you're with other people, as were people with Mexico, during Poland and Argentina. It's like, wait, we really do want Messi missing that PK. Everyone's like, he missed it. And somebody was telling me at a Mexican bar, everyone's like, holy crap, no, we need this. So,
but overall, it was a pretty disappointing from CONCACAF in general. Like, I think the only team that, I guess it's because I was going to say the only team that met the minimum goal was the U.S. men's national team. I don't think they exceeded expectations. I think they met expectations.
They
didn't exceed them though. They didn't exceed them.
No, they met. No, I mean, I don't know. They exceeded them the fact they got out of the group. So great. I had them getting out of the group. I was just like,
which is what, they did the bare minimum. If it would have been the same thing for Mexico, if Mexico would have got that, one more goal, and let's say Saudi Arabia didn't score, and then if Mexico lost to France, I don't think any of us would have been like, well done, Mexico, you did a fantastic job. We would have been like, you know what?
No,
that was fine. Exactly that was okay.
Which is exactly what I thought. And again, sometimes I feel like the luck of the groups.
Yeah.
And Mexico being able to get out in the last 7 World Cups, and the only other team is Brazil that's done that. There's a reason. Like, I say, hey, we did it. But we have been lucky in the past with 4 points going through. 4 years ago, it was a goal by Korea that got us in the next spot, right? And if Messi would have made his goal, or if Antuna wasn't offsides, we would have been already against France. And you know what? Would have gotten our butts kicked, and then it would have been the same old Mexico. We made it. We can never make it the quinto partido because we're never going to beat una potencia como Francia or another team that comes in, unless we are first in the group, and then you go against Australia. But even then, Australia looked better in the first half than France did. So
it's still a failure from Mexico, though, right?
It is. We can't. It is. Of course, it is. The luck was not on our side. Even though we have 4 points, it was still a failure Tata got sacked. Glad he's gone. He said it's his fault. And okay, we know that's what happened. But it could have been like completely different. And which
Although
normally we go,
yeah. Although I would say with the Tata got sacked, I do wonder if so remember like, I remember it was like talking to my editors, we're like, all right, we'll see, if we hear something from the FMF, if they say something, like he got fired. I do wonder by him saying after the game that like, oh well, my contract was over by the final whistle. Do you think that was Tata saying like, you're not going to break up with me, I'm going to break up with you? Do you think that was that kind of situation?
No, I think it was mutual. We knew that there was that he's like, okay, well, I'm in a review or we're done. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's coming back that he wanted to quit at least twice, and I think Torrado said no, you need to keep doing it. If it wasn't for me, like they were just there. There's a.
I guess we all kind of knew it was going to be over after the. I mean, we had enough reports that we knew there's going to be over after this World Cup, no matter what happened.
Yeah. Cuitlac Guerra, sorry if I'm like butchering Mojaro, saying even when Mexico wins their group, they play poorly. It's not that they play poorly in octavos, is that they always face a really good team.
Yeah, but I think the frustration is, I mean, we've talked about it.
We played poorly that one of the games if you go back, when we played poorly, we usually play poorly the third game. Go back to 2002, even 2006.
I mean, just go back to the last World Cup. I mean,
you win. Imagine you win your first two games, and then you play Sweden, horrendous, right? As much as Osorio really got praised for Germany, he just crapped all over.
Osorio admitted that he overthought it. He just was trying to get clever.
He kept going with his thing. But when people go back, oh, it's because we played way better when we were with La Volpe. You look at that 2006 group stage where we beat a bad Iran, and then we should have beaten Senegal, and then we lost against a Portugal B team without Cristiano, and then we had a great game against Argentina, but we won the same amount of games.
Yeah, but it's also
we won the same amount of games.
Yeah, and it's also like when they're saying that we play poorly in the octavos, like it's a frustration because it's like you want to see progress like in your soccer structure, your soccer federation, your country. So just to see that World Cup after World Cup after World Cup to be the same exact level when Mexico should push to be among the elite in world soccer. And Mexico
we should be fourth game. Like that's where we're at. And and until we have, I always said that 2014 was the best year we had a chance because look at our starting 11. It was a pure, European starting 11. Players playing outside of Mexico, and I feel like how many was it this time around? 4.
Yeah, so that's the thing. We're looking forward for El3. I don't know something we're like talk about today, but it's just I was there at that press conference with Yon de Luisa and Jaime Ordiales, so the FF president and also the men's sporting director. They said that they're embarrassed. They said that they wanted to make structural changes because I think structural changes do. I mean, it's obvious. And I'm not sure if they will actually make structural changes because a lot of times in Liga MX people make promises and nothing ends up happening, or they make promises and they make those changes and then a few months later they're like, actually we're going to do something different. So things need to change. Everybody recognizes
what can change.
Coach, well, the thing is like promotion change. Well, a promotion relegation needs.
That's not going to change. I don't necessarily think that that's ultimately going to give us these great. Like
I think it's just little. It's little steps. It's little tiny changes. And it's also like and actually, as Garcia FC said, structural changes starts with De Luisa. Yeah, I'm curious to see if De Luisa sticks around because he's been there for a full cycle. 100%. Like Ordiales, no, he's been around since the summer, and we'll see what the club owners have to say. They already had their winter meeting, so we'll see if they have another meeting to determine whether they want him to continue or not. But I think part of those structural changes too is trying to do a better job of giving youth players opportunities. That's nothing.
I feel like here's the things that we want to list. We are the fans. This is what needs to change. Yeah. But then there's like reality, right?
Right.
And I think that's when you're gonna go, okay, what can change, right?
Why not try to give more minutes to youth players? Like why not extend that even more?
Ultimately, like you're sitting there and this is where I kind of go, let's think of lists that can happen, because
Mhm.
when people go, we need to have relegation, we need to have more youth, we need to have more players in Europe, we need to have a coach. Like, okay, I'm like, what can we do? Because at the end of the day, you're
I
a
mean, all those things you
manager.
said, those would help. those
Yeah,
those
no,
would
no, yeah,
definitely help.
but like, can it actually happen? What can we do? You're a manager in that is getting paid to win titles, and you
Mhm.
either A, bring in somebody that's proven, that's older, and it's extranjero, or you're gonna give a young, a young kid that does not have experience some minutes.
I mean,
It's
here's the
like,
thing. If we, yeah, no, and that's the thing. Actually, I talked about that earlier. I mean, if it were up to me, and it's easier, obviously, for me when I have no financial backing of any clubs or leagues, so it's easy for me to say this. But ideally, and I've talked about this, as much as I like the short season format for Liga MX, I would do away with that. I would say go back to the
but
one.
again, that's not gonna happen though.
I know. Well, I'm saying if we were to like blow it
Yeah,
all up
let's
and
let's
restart.
scrap.
So,
Let's. I go back to.
since that's not going to happen, like I said, give more, like, enforce more of a minimum minutes for youth players.
You
Have
could put a
it,
you could put a rule that has to,
yeah.
but then again, the coaches are not going to be happy. Then that's
I mean,
rules going
that's
to
okay.
scrap
That's
off.
fine. That's
But
fine. But
that rule's going to get scrapped off the minute that just like it happened before. At the end of the day, who are the owners of this football in Mexico? Are the owners of clubs. When people
correct.
say the FMF, like, oh, we need to stop going to national team games. No, it's ultimately the people that are making decisions. If you want to hurt those people, which people say financially, are the people that are the clubs, are the same club
Yeah.
owners
Yeah.
that are waiting to get back to the Liga MX so they can sell tickets and merchandise and whatever, and that people go to games that are filling up the stadiums. Like, it's all kind of coming together. It's not just like the
Yeah.
national teams over here and then over here. So there's like, and when I'm like, okay, what changes could we make? And that's why I kind of go,
I would say that I think so. There's some changes that we talked about there. We'll see if they happen or not. There's also, another conversation that's going to be had is, what are the number of domestic players that are registered per team, and if you continue to bring down the amount of extranjeros, like, per club team. We'll see what changes with those roster rules. But I will say, if there is, all right, that's all of that. What I was talking about was my pessimistic side. Like, if I don't think it's going to happen, but maybe we could see it happen. But I would say the optimistic side will tell you, like, you know what? Some of the other stuff that needs to happen is stuff that's already happening in little amounts. You're seeing more Liga MX clubs making partnerships with teams abroad. You're seeing,
yeah,
especially with the Eredivisie clubs, you're seeing in the last transfer window, I think it was 9 players going to Europe. I think that's like a record for Liga
yeah.
MX, and
The thing is,
it's something that Mikel
back
Ariel
to the
has actually
players.
recognized.
It goes
He-
back to the players
yeah,
getting more players. It, I again, let's just say that we made it to against France, and maybe it wasn't France, maybe it was Denmark that somehow got
yeah,
that spot. And with these players, it got us to the quinto partido. I would still
yeah,
say we're still not going to be, a Morocco that's going to get to the semifinals. And what I'm saying is that sometimes we're lucky with what we have. It all goes
right.
back to talent.
Yeah,
We
those
need
things
to
would
have.
help though. Those little things would help.
It
It's just
would
all
help.
those. Like, yeah.
It would help, but it goes back to talent. Like, at the same time, let's
Yeah.
fix all the things that we said would fix. But at the end of the day, we don't have those players that are playing in the better leagues until now, until this offseason, when you're starting to see
Yeah.
these players, like Jimenez going, Chuki's has been
Ye-
there. Like, we need Guardados in every position, regardless
Yeah.
if they're not going to Champions League. But the
Yeah.
experience that Guardado got over there, that is playing for so many years, 5 World Cups, I feel like that's what we need. And hopefully, I would hope that they find a way to profit, because that's the only thing that's going to change.
Yeah.
So just like the US is making deals in marketing and getting all these players over there, and there's
Hmm.
ownerships on that
Hmm.
side, and they're
Hmm.
getting deals to come back, and it's getting players out into, and playing those leagues. Mexico needs to do the same things, and they're falling behind, because
Yeah.
that's the new future, is how to get the players to play. And if that's only through profit, then they have to find that revenue.
Yeah.
They have to find
I
that way.
I
Maybe
think
that'll
real.
motivate them. That's the
I
only way
think,
that
yeah.
I can.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, money. That's the only true motivation there. I think the other thing, that it's part of that conversation. What's happening in U.S. soccer. Because U.S. soccer, obviously, they're it's growing, and you're seeing, and you talk to people involved, in the game, and they were saying that, like, youth talent is getting they're doing a better job. I'm not saying just creating youth talent, but also discovering and helping support youth talent, which has always been there. What I mean by that is a lot of really talented Mexican Americans, which would traditionally lean towards L3. But as we've seen with U.S.
How
soccer
many
getting
made the
better,
World Cup? Let's
oh,
not also
but the thing is,
let's
the
not
thing
put
is,
it like this. U.S. soccer is doing everything great
no,
because
but like you no, but the thing is like they're like you can't tell me that. And I know he didn't end up making the roster for the U.S. men's national team. You can't tell me that if Ricardo Pepi, if he was available, like for Mexico, if he'd chosen Mexico, would he have gone to the World Cup?
no, I don't think
Maybe,
so. I don't think he would have. I don't
maybe.
think he
Would
would
he?
have. I don't think he would have.
Could he make
If
an
Jimenez
impact in the
didn't
future?
make it, if Jimenez
Could he
is
make
better
an
than
impact?
Pepe,
Could he make an impact in the future?
maybe,
Potentially.
but Jimenez is
Look
better
at
than
look
Pepe, and he didn't even
look
make it. Like
look
that's
at look
like
at
that's another conversation. Like
I
it's
know, but
we had a
that
coach. We had a very stubborn coach that saw this is the only way he's going to do
that's
that. There's no way Pepe would have made it.
but here's the thing is
Not
that
because he
like
doesn't have the talent, just because of our coach.
there's gonna be a lot of really so
True.
you
I'm
you
100%.
you look at some of these up and coming, and here's the thing, it was only a matter of time. You and I, we all know that there is a massive amount of really talented Mexican American players out here in the United States. It was only a matter of time before the US started paying attention, because we have to realize, for a number of reasons, US soccer, whether it be clubs, MLS, they did not did not give like a Mexican American talent enough attention. They didn't do enough to support them. They're starting to do that little by little. And what you're seeing now is that some of the most exciting young players in American soccer, of course, they're Mexican American. You see
And
Alex
I think,
Alcala over the Galaxy. You
yeah,
see
but I think
Cruz Medina over the Earthquakes
but
and the
hasn't
Ochoa Earthquake. Yeah.
Mexico? But aren't those like they're projected to play for Mexico? Like most
I
of
mean,
them.
but you never know.
No, they
You never,
are. Like
I'm just saying.
they're projected
I'm,
to play for Mexico. It
I
wasn't.
guess I guess what I'm saying is that when I look at a side like Morocco, when you look at a side like Morocco, you see a lot of dual nationals there, and I just think that something that Mexico needs to continue doing going forward, and because it's not always a guarantee, like Ricardo Pepi, and we'll see what Ricardo Pepi is going to turn out to
Ricardo
be. Because
Pepi was pretty much
it's
promised
still
a World Cup spot that Mexico
no,
couldn't give
it's
him.
still he's. I will just say Mexico needs to get.
His
Yeah.
very first starting role was in a
Yeah.
World Cup qualifier that the U.S. needed. Like it was a flat out, you pick the U.S.
Yeah.
and you're going to play. Like
I'm just
there's
all
no way
I'm,
Tata would have given that.
all I'm saying is that Mexico needs to continue focusing and also do
I
a better
honestly
job
think,
of that. Yeah.
knowing from the inside, I think Mexico has tried to do a better job with that. I've seen it
Yes,
already.
of course.
With the up and coming Mexican Americans that are in the U.S., like you're talking about, I think I don't think there's anyone that's like, oh my gosh, we lost this guy. I think everyone's usually projected.
We'll see with Cade Cowell. We'll see with Cruz Medina. We'll see like those are two. Those are two.
But anyway, no, and I agree with you. So, and we're putting all this. Everyone has all these like, this is what needs to happen, and this is what needs to happen. That's fine, and these are like wish lists. But like, let's put on like realistic. Like, let's put on our realistic hats and go like, what can happen? Because Pro and Rel is not going to go. You know, when someone
if enough second division teams are approved, it could be a thing. Maybe if they lower the standards for that, because the thing is, it's every.
But again, it's not like it's going to be.
They did it last March.
It's not like it's going to be immediate. And believe me, there's changes that need to happen. Again, I just go back to two things. One, players playing in the best leagues and playing and talent being developed. All right, more Pachucas. The school of Pachucas doing what's happening. Yes, right. Players going abroad. 100%. Even trying out and failing or whatever. Do what Orbelin Pineda's done. Go to Greece. Maybe changing. Even though he's going to get a bunch of money to go to the U.S. and is expected. No, he's staying there. Stay over there. Figure it out. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is coaching. Is coaching on our side. Look at the coach. And I know I made a joke today about Scaloni, you know, only being 44, not having a professional experience, and he wins the World Cup. He obviously had Messi and a great squad, but
that helps. Yeah,
but young coaches, right? It's like, let's give them a chance. Let's, you know, and at the same time go abroad. You know, how many of this when all this new generation and I'm not gonna name any names, but the 2006 veterans, 2010, you know, those that went to World Cups, you know. Why didn't some of them become coaches? You know, we're starting to see a little bit of them, like the Lozanos, Rafa Puentes, and you know, we're starting to see them. But look at these young coaches that are coming out. They were players 10 years ago, right? And at the same time, when they're like, oh, it's because most of them are on TV. You know, when you're looking at the 86, 94, 98 generations, and all those players that could have been coaches or are in it, they're not. They went, you know, TV deals, and that's like, we also need that, because when people tell us, we need a Mexican coach. Who out of the Mexican coaches has the experience to take a team to the World Cup?
I have an interesting option here. I don't agree with this, but a lot of people are starting to talk about it because of what Scaloni is doing. Because of you're like, okay, who is someone who knows the in and out, like the ins and outs of the national team structure, who is a well-respected name within the sport, like within your country, and who has that experience to potentially,
Rafa.
I don't know, uplift these. It's Rafa Mark. Would you?
Yeah,
would you?
No, that's what I was saying. I made a TikTok. I woke up early this morning and made a TikTok that had like me calling Rafa, going, "Well, if Scaloni did it at 44 with no experience, why can't Rafa?" But again,
I don't agree with it. But
no, I don't agree with it either. Come on, Rafa. I think he's actually struggling in the B team. I think he has only won like 4 games.
I think if Rafa had at least a couple of years under his belt with Barcelona B, I think that'd be a different conversation. But I don't. It's interesting, though, right? It's interesting.
It's like Guardiola didn't have any coaching experience before. Like in 2 years, he took over Barcelona. And you know what? I think we're starting to see that, and not to cross over, like even NFL, like even other like sports, young coaches are like these new coaches are away. And I don't know. And yes, just someone saying, right? If I think Rafa Marquez could have coached that. But
Scaloni has Messi, yeah.
I remember putting in. I got like that again. My TikTok kind of went viral, and I had like tons of comments, and one of them was like, I could even coach that Scaloni. That Scaloni final.
And Rafa's gonna have Jesus Gallardo. Let's go. Same
Rafa
thing, right?
Honestly, you saw Jorge Campos in that 2006 World Cup. It was La Volpe, and you know who was next to him? Jorge Campos.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's Aguirre also had. Oh my gosh, I just forgot his name. The coach Leon, and now he's in Toluca. Ambriz was under Aguirre. Like, okay, have these other coaches, like someone saying Rafa Marquez and Almada and company.
That would be I would be in support of that. Actually,
yeah, so
I think that'd be a dream scenario, is to have actually Almada. I think for me, Almada is.
Here we go. Here's a great question for us, and we'll answer it. MV23 saying, "Who are your top 3 realistic head coaching candidates for Mexico?" It can be 5 as well.
Almada number 1, Ambriz number 2, number 3. I'll have to think about. I'll say. I mean, I've talked about in the pod. I think right now you need a generational change. You need a new set. You need a new set of young players.
Just young guy.
But the thing is with that, but Almada, the thing is he works because here's the thing. It's one
Almada
thing
knows
to be
the young.
Exactly. It's one thing to not only do a good job of working with young players, but also to literally win a Liga MX title. And let's not forget, it's not just with Pachuca. Like, he did an excellent job with Santos as well. So I think he would be the number 1 option for me personally.
And he knows, he knows the Mexican, and he knows the Mexican the player.
Yeah, and then I think for me number 2 it'd be Nacho Ambriz, because there you go. You have someone who actually played for the Mexican national team. He did it, coach abroad. I know he wasn't the most successful thing in the second division, but he was an assistant with Aguirre. I think it was like Osasuna. So he has that experience abroad. And if you're thinking of a manager, it'd be like, okay, so yeah, Mexico is not a France, Mexico is not a Brazil, but who is a manager who we've seen that can create like something that's greater than the sum of its parts? Like that's what Ambriz has been able to do, especially with Toluca recently. So
he pretty much just brought Leon players over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think those would be
and Luis Montes. Let's go.
Yeah, that's all that matters. Yeah.
Blitz back. No, and I'm kind of in the same boat, or you go with a world-class coach like that just wants to take on an 8-year program, that's like, all right. And I don't know who that could be, like an EPL coach that just like, all right, I want to go and take this venture and bring in someone like
Pochettino out of a job. Like
something like that, where I'm just like, all right, we have a serious manager that's not only here for 4 years, that's going to be here, that's going to start infrastructure, but I think the problem with our federation, the problem with our football is it's easy fixes, and they're going to go through the motions of who and what, and To me, Tata Martino and Juan Carlos Osorio surprised me. I never would expect that Juan Carlos Osorio
Yeah.
to be a part of it. And then Tata Martino, when you look at his resume and you go, okay, well, he is of that school. What he did with Paraguay, tenía, Argentina. He had Barcelona. On paper, even though he didn't do anything with it, you're like, okay, so now everyone's like, we need a Mexican coach that knows. But then again,
those are limited options. I mean, but Ambris, if we do want someone, and I'm not in the belief of that, like, oh, it has to be like Mexicano. It definitely has to be Mexican. Like, I don't really believe that. I don't think it has to be a Mexicano. I think that is a fact. That could be a factor.
Just knows the Mexican, but again, it's a 4-year process, so we'll see. Klinsmann, absolutely not. That is one. I remember sitting. Who was I sitting? I was sitting to like a German, like coach somewhere, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, Klinsmann, right?" Or whatever, and he's like, "That guy did not know anything about soccer." Like he told, I'm like, "Whoa." And I guess U.S. fans kind of feel the same.
Great player though, and actually now I think some U.S. fans would be like, "Oh, maybe he was onto something by providing those like European kids like a lot of opportunities."
He got as far as, I think he probably played better than they did in this World Cup. Wasn't Bielsa close to sign last time? Yeah, actually they were. There were some talks. I know some internal talks with him, and it was like presented, went through, and Bielsa just wanted to have more time with whatever project he has, and it looks like he's going to take Uruguay.
Yeah, I think that's
which reminds me. I think you questioned, somebody said it, right? Like, did CONCACAF have the worst World Cup? Aside from Argentina, and maybe, we would say CONMEBOL, but CONMEBOL didn't have the greatest outside of Argentina. Brazil.
I mean, that helps to have Argentina. Yeah, it helps.
But but what I'm saying is, like, when you had the 4 CONMEBOL spot with Ecuador not making it out of the group, Uruguay not making it out of the group, Brazil falling in the quarterfinals, and then obviously Argentina going all the way through. But
so what you're saying is that the next Copa America is going to be a Mexico-United States final, is what you're saying?
No, I'm pretty sure. No, I'm just saying, like, I was a little
losing the semis.
I was a little disappointed, and I guess, remember, Australia beat Peru in the playoffs. So I would think this is one of the worst CONMEBOL outside of Argentina winning. But then at the end, again, if Argentina wins and it comes out of CONMEBOL, we'll see. Let's see. It says, just an understanding for that, an understanding of the footballing culture of having gone through it is needed. Hugo Sanchez is saying that he still deserves to be manager. I think Hugo Sanchez got fired. Like, they were looking for a way to fire, because he was just a pill. He was like, he was just all over the place. What I thought, he had one of the best Copa Americas that we remember in 2007. And then se alineó todo con lo de los Olympics, and they fired him. I felt like he got fired unjustly. But then we went on to this, like, how many...
He's just so out of the coaching game now. Like, if it one thing, if he went back to coaching and was like,
go back to coaching earlier, like...
But like, the thing is, he hasn't done it recently. Like, it's not like he's coaching like right. I think it'd be a different thing if he was like coaching like right now. I just think that,
would giving the team back to Piojo be such a bad idea?
I think the thing is, we
didn't have anyone. I mean, I'm talking, we went out for this and everyone's whatever, and we're just like, we have no coach. I guess just to see what Piojo could do, because if there's some, but Piojo still, he's not. He needs.
The thing is, the thing is, like, so when Piojo, when he was fired from Mexico, after, when we saw that, I was like, okay, like, and then when he got the job with Xolos, everyone, like, because that's when, like, I first moved out to San Diego, started covering a lot of Xolos games. I was like, you know what, this is a good opportunity for Piojo to kind of like become a new Piojo, to become a mature version of like Piojo, and it still feels like the same exact Piojo from back then.
Look, what Piojo did was motivate our players, and I feel like you need that motivation
because he's one of the dudes, and that's what's good. He's one of the
dudes. Not saying one of the dudes. Juan Carlos was the same way. Juan Carlos was one of, like, the friends where they thought that's like rigid. No, we're gonna do this, but you still need that motivator. If you're looking at Scaloni, you're looking at these young guys that are, are part of it. Like, I feel like you need that, but we're gonna fall short when Piojo faces a Van Gaal, when Piojo faces a coach that has been there, and this is what happened. Right,
and we saw with I know it's different with Tigres, but like when the expectations are what they're at with Tigres.
Would you rather go back to if Osorio came knocking on the door
I would
and
say
just said,
Osorio.
I'm no, not Piojo Osorio. Right now, Osorio, because he was on the Directores, on TUDN, and you didn't get to watch it. But if Osorio said, "Hey, I know what I did wrong, but I know how I can get this team. I already got him to beat Germany. I'm ready." Would you give him a chance? I want to hear in the chat. Would you give Osorio a chance? Yes or no? Stop typing. Just write yes or no, and I'll read off. What do you think? Duck, no.
What? Okay, how about this? What would you think of imagine? Okay, so it's one of those situations. Mexico's like, all right, like we haven't found the right manager just yet, but we need to start prepping for Nations League. And what if like, okay, so it's up to you, Osorio as interim. He's only given a contract through the end of the Gold Cup of the summer. If he exceeds expectations, maybe we'll extend his contract. But would you agree if it was just like, okay, there isn't really good options out there, but we need to prep for Nations. We need to prep for the Gold Cup. Would you say yes for an interim? Like remember how
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
kind of like Tuca, but like with the possibility that they might extend it if he does well.
Yes, just because.
Okay, you would say
yeah. But then again, what has he done after Mexico?
He went back to South America,
and then he had in trouble, and there were scandals. I think he went to Colombia or something like that, and
yeah.
I don't know.
Did he actually to get an argument with a ref or something? It was like a really bad argument, or like push jump.
Yeah. I think he was like, there was scandal, and he wanted the Colombia job or something like that.
Yeah.
Joanna's looking at the bat side and let Argentina get a 7-0-2, but then beat Germany, the world champions. Osorio was like, yes, good, but then he did bad.
Yeah.
Let's see. People are saying no. I would give Osorio a chance. Yeah, rotación. Rotaciones, welcome into Copa America. They needed solid starters.
You know what that would be? You know what? It gave a bunch of opportunities to new players. Let's not. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
If I shouldn't be playing that position.
No, I think we do need something different. People have been bringing up
Diego Reyes playing as a DM, like in.
People bringing up Jimmy Lozano. I think that's a decent option too. I think he still needs a little bit more to prove. Just a little bit more. I
would have said the exact same thing before the World Cup, but seeing these young World Cup, I'm like, you know what? If Jimmy has the drive, he knows what he's doing. He had the Olympics. He has all those guys. We're gonna see Jimenez. We're gonna see these young guys. I don't know. What I definitely don't want, and what people are coming up with, is La Volpe.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I definitely don't want. La Volpe has failed. After Mexico, what did La Volpe do outside America and discover Diego Lainez? But I wouldn't want La Volpe back.
No, yeah, I would not. I think his time has passed. His time has passed. Saying La Volpe feels like almost like, and I know he's still he's still
Matias Maybe.
That's not a terrible option.
You would have told me no. You would have told me no. I would have said no if I'm like, no, you need someone to experience. But seeing all these young coaches and seeing these coaches that motivate and these coaches that tattoo themselves after a win, like Matias Almeida does, he is Argentinian, so I don't want.
Hey, it'd be as someone who watched a lot of the earthquakes, it would be entertaining. It'd be fun soccer. Mexico might lose 4-3 in a bunch of games, but there'd be a lot of fun games.
Garcia says, "Fine, I'm the coach. Free sign me up." There you go, Garcia football cards. So I don't know. I don't know where we're at. All I know is that more players, like the news today, that Cesar Montes might be going to Espanyol.
Yeah.
Orbelín Pineda hopefully switching clubs. We'll see the young guys, Kevin Alvarez. Hopefully Luis Chavez.
Hopefully Luis Chavez too. Yeah.
Gets to go places. And if you're looking at a potential starting, you have Cesar Montes, maybe a Angulo, you have David Ochoa or Acevedo at goal. Then on the right side, Kevin Alvarez, Arteaga on the other side, Luis Chavez, Edson Alvarez, with who am I missing in the midfield?
I mean, here's the thing. I talked about this because someone asked me.
Eddie Gutierrez.
Like in the podcast that was on earlier today. They're asking me because I think part of the conversation around Mexico, maybe people who don't watch too much Mexico, was like they see that it's an aging Mexico squad. They see that there was no player under the age of 23 in this World Cup roster. So they're like, they're asking, it's just like, well, is there a lack of youth talent? Is that why? Is it a big
Um,
worry? And my answer is like, no, that youth talent is there. That youth talent is 100% there. When you look at the options who've already made their debut for Ultri, Marcelo Flores, Emilio Lara, Julian Araujo, Santi Jimenez, David Ochoa, Diego Lainez, Israel Reyes, like the list goes. Eric Sanchez, like the talent is there, and there is a lot more.
we have
More below them as well. But of course, the issue with Mexico, time and time again, is that there's always been that really, really talented, promising like group of players. But how do you transition them into regular first team? That's the big issue.
And believe me, I went with it. Okay, Tata, your players and you know what they're gonna do. And if Diego Lainez is okay, fine. It's all gonna be on you. Like we all didn't want Diego Lainez not to make it to the World Cup, but Tata's fired. Tata's gone, and it was him because otherwise you would have had Jimenez going, you would have had Diego Lainez going, you would have had Eric starting more role. Like that's more like. And when you're looking at, hey, we have a good young generation coming up. And that should get experience. And when I look, the 11 that I just mentioned, right? Eric, Edson, and Luis Chavez in the midfield, Chucky Lozano, Alexis Vega, and Santi Jimenez up front with, like Montes, Sanchez, Arteaga, Acevedo. Like I want to see that squad already in the Gold Cup next year. Like I like. Thank you, Herrera. Thank you, Guardado. Thank you, Jimenez. Thank you. Like Edson Alvarez is the only one of the older that should stay in, Cesar Montes. Okay, cool. We did it.
Yeah. I think Edson Alvarez, he's a captain for me in the future. I would not be surprised if a year, 2 years down the line, or maybe even this new side, maybe it's the new person who steps in is like, you know what? Just like with the U.S. men's national team, they just only like try to bring in some new faces, some younger faces. Maybe Edson Alvarez does become the captain as early as 2023. Who knows? I don't think that's out of the picture. So I think going forward, it's just
okay.
It's just who's I don't know about that. I think going forward, it's going to be let's see what structural changes actually happen in Liga MX. Like I said, you made a good point. That's what's realistic, what isn't realistic, and I also
I'd be really surprising if I actually see structural changes. I think they're just going to be clean house. Yeah. I don't think I don't think the suits in the FMF, which is all the owners are very happy with Yon and what happened because no Olympics, no Women's World Cup, no the failure in the Men's World Cup, no Sub-23. Like I think that's all because of Yon, unless he throws out like this saving plan PowerPoint that he has where like because of me Bielsa's coming in and I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so
I think there will be a clean house in that sense, but a structural giving more. I don't know. I feel like they're gonna find a way to get more players abroad by looking at what the U.S. by looking at what the world football is doing, and I think that's the path. And the only thing that if somehow it generates funds, that's how things are going to change. Just like
I think that's a step in the right direction, and getting more club owners in on that line of thinking because that's what needs to happen in Liga.
Yeah,
it's one thing to. It's one thing to just, like I said, I'm making a rule about like youth players, like you need to provide this many minutes for youth players, but just if you can somehow convince and for a lot of these club owners, it will be like, okay, you won't be making as much money by selling them to another Liga MX team, but just to help support Liga MX talent going forward. Maybe you do a better job of trying to be more creative with these transfers abroad. Maybe you do what happens with Pachuca too, where it's just like, okay, they send him abroad, but Pachuca still get a decent chunk of the next sale after that. Yeah, and it's just figure out. It's just being more creative in that contract process too.
Yeah. I'm in that same way. But when you look at also structure, and I don't know if you followed what England did after 2010. They put over $1 billion trying to get more players in youth academies and subsidizing clubs that are playing. And I think 16 out of their 23 players are coming from this program it was like a 2022 program that England did back in 2010, which is structural changes because of their failures that they had. And, even though they have their best football with giving tons of money and playing time to academies and then clubs, and you're seeing all these players. And you do all that with a great coach and with great players and with a great league, and you barely make it to the quarterfinals, right? This is what I'm telling you. Even though you have all those things,
on the flip side, okay, but look what Morocco.
True. No, 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 no.
For a while they made a huge investment. And
Overall,
let's see
I go to sleep going.
Yeah. Oh, you just muted yourself, Lisa. Okay, well, I guess what I'm gonna say is just because Garcia FC on the chat also said Germany Bundesliga did the same thing. I'll say that like what we saw with Morocco is that there was a significant amount of investment that was being made, and then suddenly they're making it into the third place match in the World Cup. So I don't know. Like I was telling Lisa,
Yo,
oh there you
hear
are,
me?
there you are. You're back. You're back.
Yeah, no, yeah, like I'm saying, like even I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and then I'm like, and then what? Spain won the World Cup in 2010. They've won like one game in the last 6 World Cup like matches. Like I'm like, and then or if we look at, I wish we were Belgium because they had all their players and they had De Bruyne and they had all these players, and then they didn't make it out. And I just go back, dude, it's extremely tough to win a World Cup. Like it took Messi 5 World Cups.
It is, but you know what help is if we actually, well, you know what, give Mexico a chance. Let's see what happens if they actually do make it in.
Let's see what it. Me going like, at what age did I go?
It's like the whole thing where people are just like, oh, well, money doesn't buy happiness. It's like, well, you know what? Give me that money and we'll see what happens. Give me, I don't know. All right, let's put it to the test. Let's put it to the test.
World Cups. Apparently, yeah.
let's put it to the test. All right, yeah, money doesn't buy happiness. All right.
Germany did it, and Bundesliga did the same thing. We saw. There you go. Yeah, Germany. Yeah, just like you were saying, and they have these projects. I think everybody's trying to mimic what Spain did.
They also have World Cups, and Mexico doesn't have a single World Cup. So it'd be nice to have one World Cup.
I just feel like everyone has this like, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to do. And at the end of the day, let's say we do all that. Who's doing it? And Brazil is like, what, it's like, okay, here are the players. France is doing it. Okay, wow. Argentina just did it. And when you look at, like, I think the case for Argentina is those players that are playing, they're not like outside of Messi. And yes, there's some, they're not these world-class players that people were saying that are in EPL and the Spanish leagues, so people are saying Tom Marshall should be the coach. He's
I'll support that.
Give him like 5 years. Like, he's getting there. He's slowly climbing in the ranks. Whereas Tom Marshall is he's actually a scout for Atlanta. So he's trying to get I'm not saying officially, but maybe he's trying to get more people, and that's jumping up to Europe. I don't know. Who knows?
Is that actually the line? I think it's like send a bunch of Mexican players to Atlanta United,
and then they make the jump to Europe. That's the way. Let's do it, Tom. I know Tom has this. No. I don't think we should do anything. That's not my argument. We should not do anything. No. I'm just saying, like, that's on the other side of things, right? When you look at this World Cup, and I'm like, hopefully all these things change as the structural changes. But then I'm like, if how are we going to measure that? If winning a World Cup is the only way that we're like a successful soccer nation, talk to the Netherlands, talk to Belgium, right?
Right. But the thing is, like, but they're much closer than Mexico. The thing is, like, they're so much closer. They're so much.
100%. 100%.
And here's
what are the levels? Because we want to get to the Quinto Partido. They want to win a World Cup, right? Canada just needed to be in the World Cup. Like, there's just these levels of like, okay, what's our next step? And I think everyone goes, well, we're never going to win a World Cup. I'm like, let's take steps to get there.
Right, but that's
why even after the next step,
all those changes, like, if they're able to happen, even if just a few of them happen, that could be.
I want to have, like, when I was in the Netherlands, I was like having conversations, and it's like, are you happy with your football? And they're like, no.
But thing is, like, but it's one of those things. Like, give us.
I wish I could have
exactly. We'll give us that opportunity to be happy, and then we build from that. And the thing is like, because they're not happy because they want to reach the next level. And the thing is, like, right now, but the thing is, like, ask
finals in 2010,
ask
semifinals in 2014. Then they don't make it to the World Cup.
Okay, well, the thing is, like, that's just part of being like an ambitious kind of like.
No.
National team. It's just like, it's like you always want to better yourself, and Mexico, you just always want to better yourself.
And I get that, and I get that. It's just, I'm not. There's no point for me to saying that, but it's like, it's funny because it's like, okay, so what for us is the Quinto Partido. And I know everyone's obsessed with that, but like, all right, that's a step, right?
Yeah.
Once we're there, holy crap, to win a World Cup, geez. Because
after that, then it's reaching the semis.
No,
And
these on my case. They reached the final. Don't you think Mexico? Oh, of course we would trade for that. I was thinking, I'm like, hey, if Mexico made it against Argentina, it's fine. Like, great if we win, but if we lose, if Argentina would have lost, imagine, Messi did everything to get to so many World Cup finals and couldn't win it. I think I tweeted it out. Like, you think we suffer? Like, look at look at England. Look at the Netherlands. Like, they have all those things that we wish we had. Structure, a league, players, the talent, the fan base. They have it all. And they're just sitting there going like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
And yeah, Joanna's saying this is Brazil too. It's like, yeah, they had like, and then I go back. How can we expect to even get to the quarterfinals when our best player, who's our best player right now? Chucky.
Yeah. What about that?
We don't have any world class. We don't have like,
right. But that doesn't mean we should dream about like.
No, we should. No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm just telling you. I'm like, what makes sense is when we have players that are world class players. But then you look at it,
and we'll see what happens over the next 4 years.
Didn't bring the world class players that we thought.
We'll see what happens over
the
next years.
Edson and Chucky. My bad.
There you go. There you
go. Yeah, we need more Edson and Chuckys. And because when I do look like when I was in the Netherlands, people automatically, Edson's an amazing player. Automatically. It happens to be in Ajax, but they're like, we love what Edson is, one of the best, world class players. I'm like, all right, there's one. Chucky, okay, there's two. Hopefully Jimenez can get
luckily
there.
No World Cup in 2023. Mexico still has a few years to figure this out. Am I convinced they're going to do it? I'm not sure, but they have a few more years to. Well, actually, I guess technically 3.5 years, because it's not going to be in the winter. So,
Gold Cup next year.
Yeah,
I know people whatever, but I'm kind of excited for it just because now the Canada, right, like is coming back. Canada's a contender. The U.S. has it. Mexico's the worst out of them, right, and young guys are going to come through. Hopefully we have a new coach. I'm like, okay, we'll see what happens.
It's an opportunity, hopefully by then, to see a lot new fresh faces, like a lot of new opportunities for new players, for opportunity in a new World Cup cycle. So hopefully the next person that's in charge gives opportunities to much younger players. Players are supposed to be part of this World Cup process, but yeah. Carl's like, hey, you know what? If he wanted to return, I'll obviously take him.
You can't see Moreno. I can't wait to see Moreno Ochoa in this Gold Cup. Hey, Moreno Ochoa did whatever they could.
Right.
You can't. Ochoa saved us. If Ochoa didn't stop that, we would definitely be out by the second game. So let's respect.
I think too, especially like I think in 2023. Obviously, I said I want to see new faces, I want to see new generation of players. I'm not saying that nobody who's playing for Mexico right now, like, or any of the guys like 30 plus, should then suddenly be cut for the team. I think you're gonna need a transition there. You're gonna need a transition there. You're still gonna need some players who are important, like let's say like a Moreno, because you know what, I thought actually Moreno had a decent World Cup.
Moreno did well.
I thought he was fine. I'm not saying I want him to go to the next World Cup, but I think in part of this transition to the new generation, you're gonna need someone like Moreno. You're gonna need someone like Ochoa. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about Ochoa, but I think thank you, Ochoa. You did everything you could in the World Cup. Awesome. All right. Yeah, Acevedo, David Ochoa. We'll see. With there being more games and more teams at the next World Cup, what's considered a Quinto Partido? I don't think the structure is already set because I thought there'd be just more groups, and then you still played, in your group. And there's, instead of how many groups are right now? 8. I think there may be like 12 or something like that.
Yeah,
not having more games.
I think the goal's still going to be the quarterfinals, right? Because it's almost like regardless of how many games we play before that quarterfinal, it's the idea that Mexico can be at a World Cup within the top 8. Because the thing is, we've seen Mexico, be part of like the top 16. So it's being part of that top 8.
Hey, we're hosting
and having a tournament that can showcase that. So however many games that takes, games that takes. Yeah.
Next World Cup, the young guys are in. We have a right coach, and we're hosting those first 3 games. Hopefully, we get the top of the group. Then we get us number 2. Then we get to the Quinto Partido. There it is. All right, guys. I don't know.
It might be the 6th game at that point, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Might be,
I have no idea. I should know that.
People are still going to be clamoring for Chicharito. No, I think Chicharito para el próximo año. I think we're out, guys. Wow, we already went an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you again for all of your comments. Saying hi to everybody that's on. Wow, a lot of people. And if you're listening to us on recorded on Apple or where's the other place that we have it on?
Actually, I use Pocket Cast. I like Pocket, but it's Spotify too. People like Spotify.
Spotify or Apple.
People like Spotify.
Thanks again. Man, what a year. A record number of games for Mexico last year and this year. We'll see what happens. I believe the first game for Mexico is in February, which is the Nations League against Suriname.
I thought that was March. There's got to be. Yeah.
I thought it was February.
I think there's got to be there's got to be a friendly.
No, there are no friendlies.
No friendlies. Okay.
What I know is, I believe late friendlies. They're not going to be like January. Guys, thanks again for all of you. We don't know if we're having a show next week. Probably not. So we'll probably start one up. It depends because when's the Liga MX season start?
January 6th.
Yeah, like right away. So at first, for like last week after Mexico got eliminated, I'm like, I don't want to even think about what Mexico is. But then I'm like, you know what? Let's start this again. Coach and all that. So thanks again, everyone saying great show. Garcia, Leche, Mig, Heriberto, Joanna. Thank you again. Jaime, Envy, all of you guys. And once again, thank you again for producer Amy and everyone. Happy holidays, whether you celebrate Christmas or any other holiday, or you celebrate on the 24th or on the 25th. Happy holidays to you. You want to stay safe out there. Cesar, it was good to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
Good to see you again, brother. Hasta la próxima.